I'm Rebecca Martinez, 29 years old. 4 months ago, I was being rushed into emergency surgery at 32 weeks pregnant with severe preeclampsia and a hemorrhaging placenta. My 3-year-old twins Olivia and Noah were at preschool and needed someone to pick them up within the hour. My husband Marcus was deployed overseas with the Navy and couldn't be reached. I was alone, terrified, and my blood pressure was dangerously high. From the pre-op room with nurses hooking me up to monitors and an anesthesiologist explaining the risks, I called my mother with shaking hands. "Mom, I need help. I'm having an emergency C-section. The baby's in distress and I have preeclampsia. Can you please pick up the twins from Little Sunflower Preschool? They close at 6 and I'm going into surgery now." There was a pause. Then my mother's voice, annoyed and dismissive. "Rebecca, we have Hamilton tickets tonight. You know how long we've been waiting for this show. It's been sold out for months. Your father and I flew your sister in from Boston specifically for this." I couldn't breathe. "Mom, I might die. The doctor said my blood pressure is stroke level. The baby's heart rate is dropping. Please." "You're being dramatic," she cut me off. "You had 2 easy births with the twins. This is probably nothing. Can't you postpone it? Or call one of those babysitting apps? We've had these tickets since February. Do you know what we paid for them? $850 per ticket. We're not missing Hamilton because you're having another baby." A nurse looked at me with an expression of pure shock. The anesthesiologist actually stopped what he was doing. "Mom, the twins are 3 years old. They need family. They need someone they know." "Then you should have thought of that before getting pregnant again while your husband is deployed. We raised our children, Rebecca. We're entitled to enjoy our retirement. Figure it out yourself. You're an adult." The line went dead. I stared at the phone. The nurse gently took it from my hand. "Honey, we need to get you prepped. Is there anyone else?" There wasn't. Marcus's parents had both passed away before we met. My younger sister Amanda was apparently in town for the Hamilton show, which she clearly valued more than her niece, nephew, and unborn baby sibling. My father had never contradicted my mother in his life. I had no one. "I need to make a call," I whispered through tears. My hands were shaking so badly the nurse had to dial the number for me. I contacted Guardian Angel Nanny Service, a premium agency I'd researched when the twins were born. Despite the contractions, despite the fear, I explained my emergency. They had someone available. A woman named Margaret who could pick up the twins within 20 minutes and stay with them as long as needed. $55 an hour, 48-hour minimum commitment. I gave them my credit card information while a nurse was checking my vitals and telling me we needed to go now. Then I did something else. Something that had been building inside me for 9 years. I opened my banking app and canceled the automatic transfer. $4,500. Every single month. For 9 years and 3 months. I did the math even through the haze of fear and pain. $486,000. Almost $500,000 I'd secretly been sending my parents since I was 20 years old. They thought they were living comfortably on my father's teacher pension and their savings. They had no idea their mortgage, their property taxes, their homeowner's insurance, their car payments, even their country club membership. All of it was being funded by the daughter they couldn't be bothered to help in a medical emergency. Before I tell you what happened when my grandfather walked into that hospital room, if you're connecting with this story, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. But only if it's genuinely resonating with you. Now let me tell you how I got to this point, because this didn't start with an emergency C-section. Growing up, I was always the responsible one. The one who didn't cause problems. Amanda, for years younger, was the golden child. Artistic, spontaneous, free-spirited. She dropped out of college twice, changed majors 4 times, and finally got a degree in art history that led to exactly 0 job prospects. My parents called her creative and finding herself. I was boring. Predictable. I got straight A's, went to State University on an academic scholarship, became a certified public accountant, married my high school sweetheart, and had twin babies at 25. My parents' reaction to my twins? That's a lot of responsibility for someone so young. Are you sure you can handle it? When Amanda decided to move to Boston to explore the art scene, at 24 with no job and no plan, my parents gave her $30,000 to get started. When I asked for help with a down payment on a house for my growing family, my mother said, "You make good money. You should be able to save." I made $68,000 a year as a CPA. Marcus made $52,000 as a Navy logistics specialist before his deployment. We were comfortable but not wealthy. Certainly not wealthy enough to be secretly supporting my parents' lifestyle while raising twins and saving for our own future. But when I was 20, just starting my first real job after graduation, I visited my parents and saw a foreclosure notice on the kitchen table. My father's pension wasn't enough. They'd refinanced their house 3 times and were drowning in debt. The house they'd lived in for 28 years was going to be taken away in 60 days. I couldn't let that happen. Despite the favoritism, despite the way they dismissed my achievements while celebrating Amanda's creative spirit, they were still my parents. So I went to their bank, worked out a payment plan, and started making their mortgage payments. Then I saw their car loan was in default, so I took that over too. Then property taxes. Then insurance. Then their country club dues because my mother said it would kill her to lose her social standing. For 9 years I lived modestly. We rented instead of buying. I drove a 7-year-old Toyota. I bought the twins' clothes at consignment sales. I clipped coupons and meal planned obsessively while my parents maintained their 3-bedroom house in the nice part of town, drove newer cars, took annual cruises, and kept their country club membership. They never questioned where the money came from. They just assumed things had magically gotten better. They never thanked me because they never knew. When I got pregnant with the twins, my mother's response was, "Twins? That's going to be exhausting. I hope you're not expecting us to babysit all the time." They'd watched the twins exactly 11 times in 3 years. 11 times. Always for a few hours, always when it was convenient for them, and always with complaints about how tiring it was. When Marcus got deployment orders, my mother said, "Well, that's the military life. You knew what you were signing up for." When I asked if they could maybe help more while he was gone, she said, "We have our own lives, Rebecca. We can't just drop everything because you chose to marry someone in the military." But they'd flown to Boston 6 times in the past 2 years to visit Amanda. They'd funded her art studio to the tune of $15,000. They posted constant photos on Facebook of their adventures with our creative daughter, while I wasn't mentioned at all. Last Christmas, Amanda came home and announced she was taking a break from capitalism and moving back in with our parents for a while. They were thrilled. When I asked if they could watch the twins for one evening so I could go to a holiday party for work, my mother said they were too busy helping Amanda settle in. The C-section took 3 hours. My son was born at 32 weeks, weighing 4 pounds 3 ounces. They immediately took him to the NICU. My blood pressure was so high during surgery that I had a small seizure on the table. The doctors told me later that if they'd waited even 30 minutes longer, both the baby and I would have died. When I woke up in recovery, Margaret was there. She'd brought Olivia and Noah to the hospital, and they were sleeping in the family waiting room with her. A nurse told me Margaret had given them dinner, read them stories, and told them their baby brother was going to be okay and Mommy would see them soon. "Your twins are precious," Margaret whispered when she came into my room. "They were scared, but I told them you were strong and everything would be okay. They wanted to make you pictures." She handed me 2 crayon drawings, stick figures of our family with a tiny baby. I started sobbing. This stranger had done more for my children in 4 hours than my own mother had done in 3 years. Margaret stayed for 3 days until Marcus's emergency leave came through and he could fly home. The bill came to $4,290. I paid it without hesitation. Worth every single penny. My mother didn't call to check on me. Not once. Not to ask if the baby was okay. Not to ask if I'd survived. Nothing. On day 4 my phone started ringing. My mother. I ignored it. She called again. And again. By evening she'd called 31 times. My father called 19 times. Even Amanda called, which was shocking since we barely spoke. I finally answered on call number 43. "Rebecca." My mother's voice was pure hysteria. "What have you done? What have you done?" "I just had emergency surgery and almost died, Mom. Thanks for asking. Your grandson is in the NICU fighting for his life. Also thanks for asking. Don't you dare guilt trip me. The mortgage payment bounced. The bank is calling. We're getting late fees. What is happening?" "I canceled the automatic transfer," I said calmly. "What transfer?" "The $4,500 I've been sending you every single month for 9 years. I stopped it." Complete silence. Then, that was you? His mom. That was me. Every month since I was 20 years old. Your mortgage, your car payments, your property taxes, your insurance, your country club membership. All of it. $486,000 total. You're welcome, by the way. But we thought, your father's investments. Dad doesn't have investments, Mom. He has a teacher's pension that barely covers groceries. You've been living off my income for almost a decade. And when I needed you for one single afternoon to watch your grandchildren while I had life-saving surgery, you told me you weren't missing Hamilton. You don't understand. Those tickets were $850 each. We'd been planning this for months. And I'd been planning to not die in childbirth, but I guess your entertainment was more important than your daughter's life. Rebecca, you're being unfair. No, Mom. I'm being done. I hired a stranger to care for Olivia and Noah. She was there for them when their mother almost died. She held them and comforted them and made sure they were safe. You were at a Broadway show. Every automatic payment is canceled. You're on your own. We'll lose everything. The house, the cars, the club membership. Figure it out yourself, Mom. You're an adult. I hung up. The calls escalated. 67 times the next day. 73 times the day after that. I blocked their numbers. Then came the emails. The Facebook messages. The texts from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all saying the same thing. How could I abandon my parents? How could I be so cruel? How could I let them lose their home? Not one person asked how my baby was doing. Not one asked if I was okay. Not one acknowledged that my mother had chosen a Broadway show over a medical emergency. I was in the hospital for 8 days. Baby Ethan was in the NICU for 5 weeks. Marcus was there for 2 weeks before he had to return to his deployment. During all of that, my parents called and called and called, but never once did they ask about their grandson. It was always about money. 3 weeks after the surgery, my mother showed up at my house. I was home with the twins while Ethan was still in the NICU. I looked through the peephole and saw her standing there, my father behind her looking defeated. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. What? We need to talk, my mother said, trying to push past me. I blocked the doorway. Talk here. Rebecca, please. Don't be childish. We drove all the way here. You drove 20 minutes. The same 20 minutes you couldn't spare when I was dying. Stop saying you were dying. You're fine. I had a seizure on the operating table, Mom. My blood pressure was 220/140. The doctor said I was minutes away from a stroke. Your grandson was born 2 months premature and is in the NICU with breathing tubes. But sure, I'm fine. My father finally spoke. Sweetheart, please. We're going to lose the house. We need you to start the payments again. Just until we figure something else out. Figure out what, Dad? You're both retired. You have no other income. You've been living beyond your means on my dime for 9 years. If I start paying again, it'll never end. But we have nowhere else to go, my mother cried. Maybe Amanda can help. She's the creative one, right? The special one. Amanda doesn't have any money. Neither do I, Mom. Not anymore. I have 3 children, a deployed husband, and a $4,290 nanny bill because you wouldn't help me for 4 hours. I have a NICU bill that's currently at $127,000. I have a mortgage of my own because I finally bought a house. Something I could have done years ago if I hadn't been funding your lifestyle. This is our home, Rebecca. And it would have been gone 9 years ago if I hadn't saved it. You've had 9 years of living there because of me. That's 9 years more than you deserved. My mother's face twisted. You've always been selfish. Rigid. This is exactly why we've never been close. Something inside me cracked open. We've never been close because you've never wanted to be close to me. I'm not artistic like Amanda. I'm not fun or spontaneous. I'm just reliable, boring Rebecca who pays the bills and doesn't complain. Well, I'm done. I'm done paying for a relationship that's always been one-sided. If you don't help us, we'll be homeless. Then I guess you'll figure it out. You're adults. I closed the door. My mother pounded on it for 15 minutes while Olivia and Noah stared at me with confused faces. Why is Grandma yelling? Olivia asked. Because she wants something I can't give her anymore, I said. Is it love? Noah asked in that eerily perceptive way 3-year-olds sometimes have. Yeah, buddy. Something like that. The calls continued. My mother called 82 times in a single day. When I blocked her on everything, she started showing up at my house. I stopped answering the door. She left notes. You're destroying this family. Your father is having chest pains from the stress. How can you live with yourself? Then came the social media campaign. My mother posted a long, detailed Facebook post about her ungrateful, selfish daughter, who abandoned her elderly parents in their time of need. She painted herself as the loving mother who'd sacrificed everything, now being punished by a heartless child. She left out the Hamilton tickets. She definitely left out the $486,000. Extended family I barely knew started commenting. Elders deserve respect. Family takes care of family. What happened to family values? I didn't respond. I was too busy with NICU visits, taking care of the twins and trying to keep myself together while my husband was overseas. But then 4 weeks after Ethan's birth, something happened that changed everything. I was at the hospital sitting next to Ethan's isolette in the NICU, when a nurse came in and said I had a visitor. He says he's your grandfather. Should I send him in? My grandfather? My mother's father had died when I was 6. My father's father had died before I was born. What's his name? I asked confused. Frank. Frank Morrison. My heart stopped. Frank Morrison was my mother's father, but he wasn't dead. That was just what my mother told everyone. There'd been some kind of massive falling out when I was young and my mother had cut him off completely. She told the entire family he was dead and forbidden anyone from contacting him. Yes, I said quickly. Please send him in. An elderly man walked in, 81 years old but standing straight and tall. He had kind eyes and my mother's nose. He looked at Ethan in the isolette, then at me, and his eyes filled with tears. Rebecca, he said softly. I know you probably don't remember me. You were so young when your mother decided I was dead. I remember you, I said. And I did. Vague memories of a man who brought me books and played board games with me. Then suddenly he was gone and we were told he'd died. What are you doing here? Your Aunt Linda called me. Your mother's sister. He told me what happened. The emergency C-section. Your mother choosing Broadway tickets over helping you. The money you've been sending all these years. She thought I should know. He pulled up a chair and sat next to me. I need to tell you something about your mother. She wasn't always like this. When she was young she was sweet, kind. But after her mother and I divorced, something changed. She became entitled, manipulative. She learned to play victim and make everyone else feel guilty for not giving her what she wanted. Why did you and Grandma divorce? I'd never known the real story. Because I couldn't watch her turn your mother into a monster. Your grandmother enabled every bad behavior. When your mother stole from her college roommate, your grandmother blamed the roommate. When your mother maxed out credit cards in my name, your grandmother said I should just pay them. I finally left when your mother was 19. Your grandmother turned her against me, told her I'd abandoned them. Your mother believed it. He looked at me intently. She's done this before, Rebecca. Found someone to fund her lifestyle. She did it to her first husband, Amanda's biological father. Did you know Amanda has a different dad? I didn't. What? Your mother was married at 22 to a man named David Chin. Lovely guy, owned a successful restaurant. She drained him dry. Ran up his credit cards, demanded expensive trips, spent money faster than he could make it. When he finally put his foot down, she divorced him, got half his assets and moved on to your father. Your dad is a good man but weak. He won't stand up to her. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know that what you did, cutting off the money, was right. She'll never change, Rebecca. She'll take everything you have and still demand more. You could give her $1 million and she'd want $2 million. You could die for her and she'd complain that you didn't die more conveniently. I started crying. All those years. All that money. All that trying to be good enough. Listen to me, he said firmly. I've been watching from afar. Linda keeps me updated. I know you've been supporting them since you were 20. I know you've sacrificed your own family's well-being to fund their lifestyle. I know you almost died last month and your mother couldn't be bothered to help. Do you know what I did when Linda told me? I shook my head. I came to the hospital. I was here that night. I stood outside the surgical wing waiting to hear if you were okay. When I heard you survived, I left. I didn't want to intrude. But I was here, Rebecca. I was here when your mother was at Hamilton. Something inside me broke. This man I barely knew, this grandfather my mother had declared dead, had been here. Had cared. I want to be in your life, he said. If you'll let me. I want to know my great-grandchildren. I want to help. Not financially, you don't need another person to support, but emotionally. As family should. I'd like that, I whispered. We sat together for 2 hours. He told me stories about my mother's childhood, the warning signs everyone ignored, the pattern of behavior that had repeated across decades. He told me about David Chin, Amanda's real father, who'd had to declare bankruptcy after my mother left him. He told me about his own recovery from enabling her behavior. When your grandmother died, he said, your mother didn't even tell me. I found out 3 months later from Linda. I wasn't invited to the funeral. That's the kind of person she is. She cuts people off when they stop being useful. What will happen to them? I asked. My parents. They'll lose the house. They're already 3 months behind. They'll have to downsize to something affordable on your father's pension. It'll be hard, but they'll survive. And Rebecca? That's not your problem. You have 3 children to raise. You have a life to build. You've given them enough. Just then my mother appeared in the NICU doorway. She must have followed me or sweet-talked her way past the nurses. She saw me, started to speak, then saw the man sitting next to me. Her face went white. Dad. Hello, Christine, Grandpa Frank said calmly. You're not supposed to be here. Rebecca, what is he doing here? He came to meet his great-grandson, I said. The one you haven't asked about once. You don't understand, he's toxic, He was here the night I almost died, I interrupted. He was in this hospital waiting to hear if I was okay. Where were you? We had Hamilton tickets. I know. You've mentioned it. My mother's eyes darted between us, panicked. She was losing control of the narrative. Rebecca, if you don't reinstate the payments by Friday, we lose the house. Your father's health. Your father's health is fine, Grandpa Frank said coldly. I talked to him yesterday. He's stressed because you're making him stressed. He wants to downsize and live within his means. You're the one who refuses. Stay out of this, my mother snapped. This is between me and my daughter. Is it? Grandpa Frank stood up slowly. Because from what I can see, this stopped being a relationship years ago. This is just you taking and her giving until she finally ran out. My mother turned to me, desperation in her eyes. Rebecca, please. I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. I raised you. You owe me. I owe you $486,000? I asked quietly. Because that's what I've already given you. I think we're square. That's different. That was your mortgage. Your car. Your lifestyle. Your country club. Your cruises. For 9 years I paid for all of it while you treated Amanda like a princess and me like a disappointment. For 9 years I went without so you could have everything. And when I needed you, when I actually needed you, you chose a Broadway show. A NICU nurse appeared. Ma'am, you're disturbing the other babies. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm not leaving without. Security is already on their way, the nurse said firmly. Leave now or you'll be permanently banned from this hospital. My mother looked at me one last time. You'll regret this. When you're old and need help, don't come crying to me. I won't, I said. I have family now. Real family. She left. I never saw her again. Grandpa Frank became a constant presence in our lives. He was there when Ethan came home from the NICU. He was there every Sunday for family dinner. He taught the twins to play chess and read them books. He sent care packages to Marcus overseas. He was everything a grandparent should be. 2 months after the surgery, my parents lost the house. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment 40 miles away. Aunt Linda told me they were adjusting, but that my mother was making everyone miserable with constant complaints. Amanda surprisingly reached out. Mom's been calling me nonstop asking for money. I don't have any to give. She's furious. I think I'm officially the disappointment now. Welcome to the club, I said. I'm sorry, Amanda said quietly. For everything. For not being there. For letting them favor me. For not standing up for you. Are you sorry enough to help them financially? I asked. God, no, she said. I barely have enough to support myself. Then we agree on something. We started talking more. Slowly building a relationship that wasn't mediated by our parents. It wasn't much, but it was something. 4 months after the surgery, I was fully healed. Ethan was thriving, nearly caught up developmentally despite his early arrival. The twins were starting pre-K. Marcus was home on leave for 3 weeks before his next deployment. We were having Sunday dinner at Grandpa Frank's house when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Rebecca Martinez? A professional male voice. Yes. This is James Walsh, attorney at law. I'm calling regarding Christine Morrison, your mother. She's listed you as next of kin on some financial documents. I need to inform you that foreclosure proceedings on her property are complete, and she's facing additional legal action regarding credit card debt. She's given your contact information to several creditors. I wanted to give you a courtesy call before they start contacting you. Thank you for letting me know, I said calmly. For the record, I have no legal or financial obligation to my mother's debts. Any creditor who contacts me will be directed to cease and desist. That's exactly right, he said. I had a feeling you'd know that. Good luck, Ms. Martinez. Grandpa Frank was watching me when I hung up. Your mother's creditors? Yep. Good for you for knowing your rights. I'm a CPA, I reminded him. I know exactly where my obligations end. Marcus squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you, he whispered. Today, 6 months after that emergency C-section, I'm sitting in my backyard watching my 3 children play. Olivia and Noah are pushing Ethan in a baby swing, singing to him. Grandpa Frank is teaching them a song from his childhood. I have $4,500 extra in my budget every month. I've started college funds for all 3 kids. I've paid off our credit cards. I'm planning to go back to school for my MBA. Marcus and I are finally able to save for our future instead of funding my parents' present. My mother hasn't called in 3 months. The last I heard from Aunt Linda, my parents are managing in their apartment, but my mother is impossible to be around. My father tried to reach out once through Grandpa Frank, but when he found out he'd have to acknowledge what happened and apologize, he chose silence instead. That told me everything I needed to know. But here's the truth I've learned. Cutting off toxic family isn't cruel. It's survival. It's choosing your children over people who proved they don't value you. It's refusing to pay, literally and figuratively, for love that should have been freely given. I spent $486,000 trying to earn my mother's approval. I could have bought a house outright with that money. I could have secured my children's entire education. I could have built generational wealth. Instead, I bought a painful but necessary lesson. Some people will take everything and still demand more. The only way to win is to stop playing. Remember that moment I mentioned? When Grandpa Frank walked into the hospital room and my mother froze. That happened on day 6 of my hospital stay. My mother had somehow gotten past security again and was standing over my bed, listing all the reasons I was destroying the family. Grandpa Frank walked in carrying flowers. He saw my mother and his face hardened into something I'd never seen before. Christine, he said quietly. My mother spun around, shocked. What are you doing here? I'm visiting my granddaughter and my great-grandson. What are you doing here? Oh wait, let me guess. You're asking for money from a woman who almost died because you wouldn't take 4 hours to watch your grandchildren. That's not, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I understand you've been bleeding Rebecca dry for 9 years. I understand you chose a Broadway show over her life. I understand you've never once asked about the baby fighting for his life in the NICU. I understand you're exactly the person I knew you'd become. My mother's hands were shaking. You abandoned me. I left your mother. I never abandoned you. I called every week. I sent cards, letters, gifts. He sent them all back. You chose your mother's lies over the truth because it was easier. Because it meant you got to play victim. That's not true. It is true, and deep down you know it. He turned to me. Rebecca, did you know your mother told everyone I was dead? Yes, I said quietly. Did you know I've been setting aside money for you since you were born? $500 a month for 29 years. I have an account with $174,000 in it that I've been waiting to give you when the time was right. I think that time is now. My mother's face went red. You gave her money but not me? I gave her nothing while she was funding your lifestyle. This is money I saved because I knew someday she'd need it. And I was right. He looked at me. Rebecca, this is yours. For the kids' college. For your future. For whatever you need. I started crying. This man I barely knew had been saving for me. Planning for me. Caring about me from afar. As for you, Christine, he turned back to my mother. I've already called security. They're reviewing footage of you harassing Rebecca over the past week. You're about to be permanently banned from this hospital. If you come near Rebecca or her children again, I'll file a restraining order on her behalf. Do you understand?" My mother's mouth opened and closed. She looked at me, expecting me to defend her or smooth things over. I said nothing. She looked at Grandpa Frank, and whatever she saw in his face made her go pale. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and left. Grandpa Frank sat down next to my bed. "I should have done that 25 years ago. I'm sorry I didn't." "You're here now," I said. "That's what matters." "That $174,000 Grandpa Frank gave me? It's in a trust for my children now. Every penny of it will go to their futures. Their education, their first homes, their dreams. My mother will never see a cent of it. Neither will Amanda, though she's never asked. I'm done giving to people who only know how to take. My children will grow up knowing their worth isn't measured by what they can provide. They'll grow up with a Papa Frank who loves them unconditionally. They'll grow up seeing their mother set boundaries and stand firm. That's the real inheritance I'm giving them. And if my mother ever wonders why she lost her daughter and grandchildren, the answer is simple. She valued a Broadway show more than she valued us. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. I finally did. And I'm free. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And if you've been through something similar, if you've been the family ATM while being treated like you're worthless, know that you deserve better. You always have. Choose yourself. Choose your children. Choose the people who show up. It's the best decision I ever made.